everyone, I am Sri Lakshmi VB and this is a seminar presentation on the topic A Study of Multipurpose Pre-trained Language Models. Natural language processing is a branch of computer science that helps us to deal with the problem of communication gap between humans and computers. As of 2020, NLP was able to produce incredible results in many of its domains. Language model is one such domain. When we look into the history, language models actually came into existence during the Second World War when they needed machine translation. From the statistical and probabilistic language model existed then, we have come a long way to reach today's deep generative models. So on this seminar, we will be seeing algorithms of neural network language model NLP in the modern artificial intelligence era and how these algorithms were changed and evolutioned in the course of time to get more and better performance. Then we'll see what is transfer learning and how transfer learning made us able to produce pre-trained language models in NLP like BERT, GPT, GPT-2 and XLNet. Finally, we'll see how these models respond to several language tasks and at the end we'll compare these models according to some metrics. Primarily, there were three main objectives for this seminar. The first one was to understand the algorithms and architecture of neural network language models, and the second one was to get familiarized with different multipurpose pre-trained language models, and the third one to analyze the performance of different multipurpose pre-trained language models in various language understanding tasks. Moving on, we have algorithms in neural network language models. Text data was considered as sequential data at the early times. So when Google introduced seek-to-seek architecture for sequential data, it was like finding a holy grail. Recurrent neural networks or RNN being the powerful algorithm to deal with sequential data was used almost in every seek-to-seek techniques. See the formula here. The first term XTWT is associated with the current input, UHT minus HT minus 1 is associated with the previous input and B is the bias term. So you can see there is a clear dependency among the inputs. This is what made us use RNN in sequential data. But there is training issues associated with RNN which cause problems like vanishing gradient, where values of gradients are too small, the model stopped learning. So we moved on to the next technique, that is LSTM. LSTM keeps only the relevant information. See the sentence given here. The highlighted words are what a human looks for in a sentence. In this sentence, to predict what sentence he'll say next. In this particular case, it is about a hotel review, and as humans will look for these highlighted words to decide whether to visit this hotel or not. This is what exactly an LSTM does. It will look for these important words. LSTM was actually an extension of RNN, and gated recurrent unit is exactly the same thing, but it has a little bit more sophisticated architecture than LSTM, where there is a gating network. GRUs also perform just as well as LSTM, but it had more training efficiency. Next we have bidirectional RNNs. When we form a sentence as we speak, we need information from both previous words said and what is to be said next. This is what was the idea behind bidirectional RNN. Here we have two parallelly running standard RNNs, that is one in both running in opposite direction, with one with a normal time and the other with a reverse time order. So in the formula here, HTF represents the forward running standard RNN and HTB represents the backward running standard RNN. Next we have CNN based models. If you thought CNN was only good for dealing with vision related tasks, you were sadly mistaken. CNN was actually proven very effective in dealing with NLP tasks. Here, instead of images, we give sentences, characters or words according to the task at hand as input, where the sentence matrix will be formed as 10 by 100 size if we are giving input sentence 10 input sentence and we have an embedding size of 100 dimension. So as usual, we give the sentence matrix to the convolutional operation which goes through max pooling and filtering and finally through the softmax to give us the classification. And finally, now we have variational autoencoders. This is a powerful deep generative model that can help us in dealing with unstructured and unlabeled data. It works with encoders and decoders, where the encoders encode the input data in latent variable and produces a latent space. The decoder reconstructs the data from the latent space, but the problem here is that It sometimes this recorder gives dirty output, that is it produce output regardless of what is the members of latent space. This is what called KL collapse. This led to using this VAEs along with the combination of RNNs and CNNs, which was not effective either because KL collapse persisted in appearing there also. So we came up with hybrid VAEs, but the problem was it required more time. It was more time consuming. So far we have seen 5 different algorithms, each of which had a different problem associated with. Almost all these algorithms were having seek-to-seek architecture. So we had to see what possible difficulties or what possible limitations were associated with seek-to-seek model. So seek-to-seek model, the primary problem here is that we have fixed length memory. That is, fixed length memory means the encoder can only look into a particular type of particular length of input or sequence. So when here looking into this example, you can see that this encoder has in the first figure, the encoder has to process the sentence the water to be converted into the corresponding German version die Wasser. So there will be no problem, encoder followed by the hidden state followed by the decoder, and finally we get the output. But look into the right side, we have how are you today, which has double the word count of the first sentence, and here what happens is the model will get exhausted because of the hidden state getting stacked with the longer sequence, which also cause memory exhaustion that can lead to forgetting of the initial words appearing in the input sequence. So we need a better mechanism for representing this input to the encoder, and we can come up with a solution like one vector per word, but this problem will still persist because because of the memory limitation of the hidden states and the encoder. So we need to find a way by which we can give attention to only important words in a sentence, and that is what exactly we'll see in the following slide. Attention layer. When simply defined, attention layer is an additional layer that can help us to, or that can help the model to focus what is important in a given sequence of inputs sentence. Keys, queries, values are 3 main weights associated with attention. Looking into the formula, we can see there is 2 multiplication here. The first one is a dot product of query matrix and key matrix. Key value pair matrix is of length of the input, and if the input was n, which come from the encoder hidden state, and the query comes from the decoder. First we find the dot product of the query matrix and the key matrix, and then this is done to find the similarities between the query and the key. Then we'll simply simply multiply this dot product with value to find or to map the values of this dot product to the most matching value to find the correct prediction. There is basically 3 different ways we can do attention. The first one is encoder decoder. The first one is encoder decoder attention, and the second one is causal attention, and the third one is bidirectional attention. So in the first one, just as we see now, we'll have a sentence and we'll look into another sentence for intuition, and in the second case we'll look in the same sentence for predicting the next sequence, and in the fourth one we'll look in both the same sentence previous words also into the both directions of the same sentence. Now we'll see what is self-attention a little bit more deeply. Self-attention is basically looking into the same sentence for understanding which word is important, as I said earlier, how the words are associated with each other, and how it can help in predicting the next sentence. That is what is the idea behind self-attention. It helps us in weighing the importance of neighboring units in a given context of sentence. The formula is almost as same as attention, but we have an additional additional term, that is a masked matrix, which is a triangular matrix of which we have an we have a lower half of zeros and an upper half of minus infinity, which helps us to deal with the decoder weights. And you could have already guessed that the keys and queries of this this type of attention comes from the same sentence. Next, we have multi-headed attention, which is essentially a slightly modified version of self-attention, where there are parallelly running self-attention heads. We have it is actually we linearly project the queries, keys and values h times the h, is what a parallelly running h is a head, which is a parallel running self-attention head, and this head this h value are linear projection to dk, dq and dv dimensions respectively. Each head uses different linear transformation to represent the words, and over here we have the multi-headed attention formula, that is same as the attention formula we seen a while ago. The difference is that we calculate the attention per head and concatenate the attention of all these heads to get the final multi-headed weight. The main use of multi-headed attention is that it helps us to deal with different positions in a single sentence and give us more context valued idea of the sentence. Next up, we have transfer learning in language models. So far we have seen all the techniques had a single backbone, that was deep learning. So the problem with deep learning is that it is training data intensive and it has extreme training requirements, and finally it requires more computational time, which all these attributes of deep learning make it more expensive. So we need making a deep learning model every time we need to do a task is not easy. That's why we needed something like transfer learning. Transfer learning can be simply defined as the ability to transfer the knowledge of pre-trained model into a new condition, and that is what exactly transfer learning do. Transfer learning can be looked in three different ways, and that is a source and target setting deal with the same data, and then the nature of source and target domains, and the third one, the order in which tasks are learned. According to these three divisions, we have two types of transfer learning. Here the transductive learning learns from observation and inference from specific training domain and adapt itself to it. Whereas the inductive learning, we have multitasking, where model studies different things from unlabeled tasks in specific training, and it actually, as the words suggests, it inductively studies from the given data set. Next step, we have transformer models. So in the past, the easy approach to language modeling was simply predicting next word or maximum to translation systems. And the go-to technology was a combination of LSTM GRU along with attention, which was able to produce pretty good and or state-of-the-art results even in models like ULM, FIT and ELMO. But they were recurrent in nature, and the runtime increased as the length of sequence increased. That is why we needed a model to remedy all this problem, and that is what exactly transformer model did. Here essentially the architecture is a stack of encoder and decoder layers. As you can see over here, this is the two main blocks of a transformer model. The first one is an encoder block and the second one is a decoder block. Here we have what is called a multi-headed attention and feed-forward layers stacked up nx times in this transformer model architecture. So as I said, the two basic components are multi-headed attention layer and the feed-forward layer, which can be repeated nx times. So the main core of the model is decoder block that you can see here. So how does it work? Let's have an overview. So first we'll give a sentence or as an input, and then the sentence gets embedded, and then it gets its positional encoding, and it comes into the encoder or the decoder block depending on the architecture that we chose. So then after in the multi-headed attention block, the multi-headed attention operation happens just as I said earlier, and then we have the feed-forward network. This feed-forward network is also called position-wise feed-forward network. It applies itself to each position output in parallel. And then we have this is what happens in an normal encoder block, but in the decoder block we have two multi-headed attentions stacked up together and then a feed-forward network. In between you can see add and norm. This is what helps us to keep residual connection between all these layers, and the normalization or layer normalization is done to make the process a little bit more faster. And finally we have a softmax plus linear layer combination here for calculating the gross entropy loss. So we have seen transformer model, self-attention, multi-headed attention, and this is what behind all the state-of-the-art models we have seen so far, and this is what helped us to make pre-trained models in NLP. So when coming to NLP, we had pre-trained word embeddings that was fixed and context independent earlier, but as you can see, context independent embeddings are not a big of use for practical applications. So we use transfer learning in NLP for pre-training networks with self-supervised objective. ULM Fit Elmo, as I said earlier, is a combination of RNN and attention, and this was the early SOTA pre-trained model existed in NLP. Today we have OpenAI's GPT, BERT, GPT-2, XLNet, and T5, which was able to produce incredible results or remarkable results in natural language processing tasks. So to sum it up, pre-trained models was able to give us cheaper, faster and easier practical application of natural language processing. Now we will see some of the models and compare it with according to its computational resources and architecture. So here is the list. Here are four main models over here. That is OpenAI GPT, BERT, OpenAI GPT-2 and XLNet. So what does this slide say? This is basic comparison of models based on their architecture and computational resources, as I said earlier. GPT and GPT-2 was created by OpenAI. Both used transfer decoder architecture and a standard language modeling objective, while BERT and XLNet use transfer encoding and auto-regressive or transformer respectively. The difference here from the GPT version was that both these models use different type of language modeling objective. BERT used masked language modeling and XLNet used permutation language modeling. All these models are fully end-to-end trainable, and when you look into the computational resources, you can see that it gradually increased from GPT to XLNet. Moving on, we have language tasks and how these models responded to language tasks. Language tasks, as you can see, are translation, summarization, question answering and reading comprehensions. This is what actually now normal or common language tasks we use nowadays. So when we here we have Glue Squad Race, which helped us in this seminar for comparing the performance of these three models in the above said tasks. Glue Squad Race are standard benchmarking fine-tuning data sets that help us to run the above tasks. So when we look into the values over here, GPT showed least difference while XLNet showed most difference or deviation from the base reference BERT, and all this is represented from the base reference BERT base on a scale of percent point difference. For example, here the model performed positive 18.2 percent points better than base reference BERT base. So now we have seen how the model performed to some of the fine-tuning tasks. That is based on the standard benchmarks. Now we'll see how the fine-tuning can affect and the model parameters when changed can affect the models in a specific task called open-ended story generation from given prompts. So for the study, I have taken all these models here, that is OpenAI GPT's GPT-2, GPT-2 medium and GPT-2 large, and then GPT-2 small and medium were fine-tuned for these four models, and then we have Google's Transformer XLNet and XLNet form models. So the experimental setup for this activity was first data pre-processing. We pre-process the data with writing prompt data set by byte pair encoding it, and then we have model fine tuning. As I said earlier, the GPT-2 small and GPT-2 medium models were fine tuned for this particular experiment, and then we had we needed reproducing or retraining this pre-trained model on the specific task. So for this we used the writing prompt data set we pre-processed earlier, and then we had the sample generation by varying the top K sampling parameter and the softmax temperature parameter. This is the metric overview. We had mainly all 5 metrics for analyzing the performance of the models. The first one was the prompt-based conditioning. That is, the text generated must be related to given prompt. So basically, what we in this task, what we do is we'll give the model a particular prompt, and the model has generated a story based on that prompt. So here on the first metric, we'll see how the model generated the data is related to the prompt given to it. The second one is style and complexity. This is where we look into the sophistication and stylistic complexity of the sentence. That is basically the sentence length and the number of vocabulary differences made by the model in the output. Next is readability measures, which is measured on 2 different matrices, Plush reading ease and Dalshall readability score, which is essentially looking how the material created was readable. And the fourth one, we have measure of coherence, which was actually seeing the correlation between the units of generated sentence, that is sentence connected, how the different sentences inside the material was connected. And finally, we have part of speech usage, where we are looking the connection for nouns inside the sentence. So finally, when we look into the result, the most amazing thing we observed was that the now model in the study showed equal response to all these metrics. That is, these models responded very differently to many of the differently to different metrics, and also so because these metrics because these models behaved differently, we needed to find a correlation between the above previously set metrics to. So for that we created 2 another standard deviation based metrics, that is total standard deviation and total absolute deviation. You can see the values over here. The fine-tuned models have a better deviation output, and then followed by XLNet models, and then the GPT-2 models. So what we understood that the better performed model showed clear relationship to the human generated results of the same task, and also the best values of parameters changed, that was the softmax temperature and the top K sampling value. The T was the higher values of top max temperature and the mid-range values of K gave us the best performance, and the best performed models was GPT's fine-tuned models, Transformer XL models, and GPT-2 medium. So the major takeaways from this seminar was that transformer architecture is the most successful in producing unparalleled results. That is, the transformer plus attention was able to give us results which was once only possible in imaginations. And then we saw that many of the SOTA models only used either the encoder or decoder blocks. We saw that in the comparison of the architecture. And the third one was that These models cannot be considered to comparison on depending on a single task or a single attribute, because it depended on several things. Several things on its performance, like data set, the task it was given, etc. So it cannot be compared on one particular attribute. Then we saw that fine tuning the hyperparameters or the values associated with the models helped us to increase the performance of the models. And finally, the major takeaway or the important takeaway is that pre-trained models can be fine tuned to domain specific tasks, as I said. So for a user, it will be good to use the pre-trained models and fine tune it for their particular task, for creating a project or something. That is what I personally considered the most important inference from the seminar, because we need a language model for making summaries in our project. All the content in the seminar was taken from mainly from these 3 papers and the final one here. If anyone need reference, you can refer to these papers. By this I am concluding. Thank you.